Jordan Matthews had built a life most people only dreamed of. At 28, she was pulling six figures as a senior financial analyst in Chicago, living in a sleek Lincoln Park condo she'd purchased herself, and engaged to a man who actually showed up when it mattered. But on a Tuesday morning in March, her phone lit up with an email that proved you can't outrun a toxic family. You can only choose when to fight back. The sender was her mother, Diane Matthews. The subject line read, "Invoice, cost of raising a disappointment." Diane had CC'd 42 relatives. Aunts, uncles, cousins from Seattle to Atlanta. Everyone. Jordan opened the attachment. A spreadsheet. Itemized. Professional. Diapers $3,100. Braces $8,000. Birthday parties she never asked for $1,200. At the bottom, in blood red font, total due $347,000. Diane's message was short. Repayment plan due within 30 days. This family deserves accountability. Jordan stared at her screen. Then she opened a folder buried deep on her laptop. A folder labeled Evidence. She whispered to herself, "Not today, Diane." Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. Jordan had always known her mother played favorites. But knowing something and seeing it weaponized in a spreadsheet were two different things. The memories came flooding back as she sat at her kitchen counter, coffee growing cold in her hands. She was 7 years old the first time she realized she was different. Her sister Simone had just turned 10, and Diane threw her a party at Chuck E. Cheese. 25 kids. A custom cake. Diane wore a special dress just for the occasion and took 200 photos. 3 years later, when Jordan turned 10, Diane ordered pizza and invited 2 cousins. When Jordan asked why her party was different, Diane said, "Simone's more social. You wouldn't appreciate a big party anyway." Jordan believed her. She spent years believing she was the problem. In high school, Simone made the volleyball team. Diane attended every single game, screaming from the bleachers, wearing a custom t-shirt with Simone's number. Jordan made the honor roll for years straight. Diane never once attended an academic award ceremony. "I have to work," she'd say. But somehow, she never had to work during Simone's games. When Simone got her driver's license, Diane bought her a used Honda Civic. Paid in full. When Jordan got her license, Diane said, "You can use the bus. It builds character." Jordan worked 3 jobs in high school to save for a car. She bought a beat-up Toyota with 150,000 miles on it for $1,200. It broke down twice a month, but it was hers. Diane told relatives, "Jordan's so independent. She refuses help." It was a lie Jordan heard so many times, she almost started believing it herself. The worst betrayal came when Jordan was 17. Her grandmother, Lorraine Concord, had always been different. She saw Jordan. Really saw her. Every birthday, Grandma Lorraine would slip her a card with a $20 bill inside and whisper, "You're special, baby girl. Don't let anyone tell you different." The summer before college, Grandma Lorraine sat Jordan down in her kitchen, the same kitchen where Jordan had learned to bake, to laugh, to feel safe. "Your grandfather and I set up education trusts for you and Simone," Grandma Lorraine said, holding Jordan's hands across the table. "We wanted to make sure you girls could go to college without drowning in debt." Jordan's eyes filled with tears. "Grandma, you earned this, sweetheart. You worked so hard. We're so proud of you." That trust fund had $92,000 in it, enough to cover 4 years at Northwestern University with room and board. 1 month before Jordan's freshman year, Diane called her into the living room. "There's been a complication with your college fund," Diane said, not meeting her eyes. "The money, it's not available anymore." Jordan's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "These things are complicated. Investments. Market crashes. You wouldn't understand." But Grandma said, "Your grandmother is old, Jordan. She gets confused. The money was never as much as she thought. Jordan was 17 years old. She didn't know how to fight back. She didn't know trusts didn't just disappear. She took out $87,000 in student loans. She worked 25 hours a week while taking 18 credit hours. She graduated magna cum laude, exhausted and $93,000 in debt. 3 weeks after graduation, Jordan saw it. Diane pulled up to Simone's apartment in a brand new silver Mercedes. Paid in cash. Jordan asked Simone about it later. Where did Mom get the money for that car? Simone shrugged, uncomfortable. She said she saved up. Some kind of investment paid out. That's when Jordan started keeping track. When Simone graduated from Howard University with a degree in communications and a 2.9 GPA, Diane rented out a restaurant in D.C. 85 people attended. There were speeches, a slideshow, a 3-tier cake. Diane stood at the microphone, crying real tears. "My baby girl," she said. "I am so proud of the woman you've become. You are my greatest achievement." The room erupted in applause. When Jordan graduated from Northwestern, magna cum laude, with a 3.87 GPA and a job offer from one of Chicago's top financial firms, Diane sent a text. It said, "Congrats." No period. No exclamation point.
No emoji.
Jordan stared at that text for 20 minutes, sitting alone in her cap and gown in her tiny apartment. Her roommate found her crying on the bathroom floor. "She didn't even come," Jordan whispered. "I did everything right. I worked so hard. And she didn't even come." Marcus, her boyfriend of 2 years, drove 3 hours from his teaching job in Milwaukee to take her to dinner that night. "You deserved better," he said, holding her hand across the table at a small Italian restaurant. "Maybe I'm not worth celebrating," Jordan replied, and she meant it. Marcus gripped her hand tighter. "Don't you ever say that again. You hear me? Don't you ever." That was the moment Jordan realized. The people who truly loved her showed up. The people who claimed to love her just kept score. 2 years later, Marcus proposed. He did it right. Asked Richard, the man who raised Jordan, for his blessing. Planned a romantic dinner at the same Italian restaurant where he'd first told her she was worth celebrating. Jordan called her mother the next day, still floating on happiness. "Mom, I have amazing news." Marcus proposed. Silence.
Oh, well.
"That's nice." Jordan's smile faltered. "I wanted to ask if you'd help me start planning." "Jordan, weddings are so expensive. And honestly, most marriages end in divorce anyway. Maybe just do something small at the courthouse." Simone had a full wedding. You paid for. Simone's situation was different. She was marrying into a good family. Marcus is a teacher, honey. Teachers don't make money.
Are you sure you want to?
Jordan hung up. She sat on her bathroom floor again, 25 years old, and cried the same tears she'd cried at 7, at 17, at 21. No matter what she did, she would never be enough for Diane Matthews. That's when she started the folder. Marcus found her that evening, laptop open, expression hardened. "What are you doing?" he asked gently. "Protecting myself," Jordan replied. She opened a new folder, labeled it Evidence, and began documenting everything. Over the next 2 years, Jordan quietly gathered proof. She requested her credit report and found 3 cards she'd never opened. Maxed out. All opened using her social security number when she was 19, 20, and 22 years old. She cross-referenced the shipping addresses. Every single fraudulent purchase was shipped to Simone's address in Lakeview.
Gucci bag $2,400.
Tiffany bracelet $3,200. Louis Vuitton luggage set $4,800. Designer shoes, clothes, spa packages $28,000 more. Jordan's credit score was 612. She'd been denied for an apartment, a car loan, even a credit card. She thought she'd been irresponsible in college, but she'd never opened those accounts. Her mother had. Jordan got copies of the applications. Diane's handwriting. Diane's email. Jordan's social security number. Then Jordan dug into the college fund. She contacted the bank that held the trust, requested records under her legal right as the beneficiary. The trust had contained exactly $92,000, just as Grandma Lorraine said. Diane had withdrawn the entire amount 6 weeks before Jordan started college. The withdrawal slip noted, full distribution to parent guardian for beneficiary educational expenses. But there were no educational expenses. Instead, there was a receipt for a Mercedes-Benz CLA 250, purchased for $38,900 in cash, plus $47,000 deposited into Diane's personal checking account. Jordan sat in her apartment, staring at those documents, and felt something crack open inside her chest. Her mother hadn't just failed to support her. She had actively stolen from her. Then Jordan found the tax returns. For 6 consecutive years, Diane had claimed Jordan as a dependent, collected thousands in tax benefits. But Jordan had been living independently since she was 18, working, paying her own rent, filing her own taxes. It was fraud. Clear, documented fraud. Jordan showed everything to Marcus one night. "This is serious," he said quietly. "This is criminal." "I know. What are you going to do with this?" Jordan closed the folder. "I don't know yet. But if she ever comes for me again, I'll be ready." She didn't have to wait long. The email arrived on a Tuesday morning in March. Jordan was drinking coffee, getting ready for work, when her phone buzzed. Subject: invoice. Cost of raising a disappointment. From Diane Matthews. CC, 42 family members. Jordan's hand trembled as she opened it. The spreadsheet was professional. Color-coded. Itemized down to the cent. Diapers birth to age 3, $3,100. Baby formula $2,400. Clothing ages 0 to 18, $12,000. School supplies $3,800. Orthodontics $8,000. Birthday parties never appreciated, $1,200. Christmas gifts never thanked for, $4,500. Family vacations complained the entire time, $7,200. High school expenses, $6,300. Vehicle insurance, even though you bought your own car, for $1,200. On and on it went. 37 line items. Total, $347,000. Diane's message below was short and devastating. "To my daughter Jordan, I've spent 28 years sacrificing everything for you. I gave you life. I gave you a home. I gave you opportunities you never appreciated. While your sister has consistently shown gratitude and love, you have shown nothing but entitlement and disrespect. This invoice represents what you owe this family. I expect a repayment plan within 30 days. Perhaps seeing the actual cost of raising such a disappointment will teach you the gratitude you never learned. Your mother." 42 people had received this. 42 relatives now believed Jordan was an ungrateful daughter who owed her mother hundreds of thousands of dollars. Jordan sat down slowly, the coffee mug slipping from her hands and shattering on the kitchen floor. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She just sat there, surrounded by broken ceramic and spilled coffee, and felt the final thread of hope snap inside her chest. Marcus found her 20 minutes later, still sitting on the floor. "Baby, what happened?" She handed him her phone. Marcus read it, his jaw tightening with every line. "This is abuse," he said finally. "This is emotional abuse in front of your entire family." "I know. What are you going to do?" Jordan stood slowly, stepped over the broken mug, walked to her laptop. She opened the folder labeled Evidence. "I'm going to tell the truth," she said quietly. Jordan spent 3 hours crafting her response. She didn't write it in anger. She wrote it in clarity. She organized the documents methodically. File 1 trust_fund_theft. PDF. Complete bank records showing the $92,000 withdrawal.
DNS signature.
The Mercedes purchase receipt. Grandma Lorraine's original trust document stating the money was for Jordan's educational expenses only. File 2 tax_fraud_2016-2022. PDF. 6 years of tax returns. Diane claiming Jordan as a dependent while Jordan lived independently, worked full-time, and filed her own taxes. IRS code violations highlighted. File 3 identity_theft_credit_cards. PDF. 3 fraudulent credit card applications.
Jordan S. forgé de signature.
$38,000 in charges. Every single item shipped to Simone's address. Police report Jordan had filed the week before, once she'd gathered enough evidence. She attached all 3 files to an email, selected every person Diane had CC'd, and wrote, "Dear family, you all received an invoice from my mother this morning. She billed me $347,000 for raising me and called me a disappointment. I want you to know the truth about why I'm such a disappointment. I disappointed her by going to college despite her stealing my $92,000 education fund to buy herself a Mercedes. I disappointed her by building a career and living independently while she committed tax fraud by claiming me as a dependent for 6 years. I disappointed her by having good credit values while she opened 3 credit cards in my name and destroyed my credit score. Everything I have achieved, I achieved despite her, not because of her. The attached documents are evidence I have already submitted to the IRS and the Chicago Police Department. I am not sending this for revenge. I am sending this because I deserve truth. My father deserves truth. And all of you deserve to stop believing a lie. Jordan Matthews." Her finger hovered over the send button. Marcus stood behind her, hands on her shoulders. "You don't have to do this." "Yes," Jordan said softly.
Ida.
She pressed send. 42 phones buzzed simultaneously. And Jordan Matthews stopped being a victim. The Matthews family gathered at Grandma Lorraine's estate in Evanston for Mother's Day brunch. Jordan almost didn't go. But Grandma Lorraine had called her personally. "Come, baby," she'd said. "You need to be there. Trust me." So Jordan came. She arrived at dawn, as she always did, because Diane expected her to help set up. For 3 hours, Jordan arranged 75 place settings, folded napkins into swans, arranged centerpieces of white roses and lavender, set out the good china Grandma Lorraine only used for special occasions. Her hands moved mechanically, but her heart was somewhere else, somewhere numb. Simone arrived at 11 a.m., stepping out of a black SUV in a cream silk dress that probably cost more than Jordan's monthly rent. She kissed Diane on both cheeks. "Everything looks beautiful, Mom. You really outdid yourself." Diane beamed.
Thank you, sweetheart.
"You look stunning." Jordan walked past carrying a tray of champagne glasses. Neither of them acknowledged her. It was as if the email had never happened, as if the truth didn't matter. Jordan felt something dangerous rising in her chest, something that felt like rage, but tasted like grief. Family members arrived in clusters. Cousins,
Aunts.
uncles, people Jordan had known her entire life. Some of them looked at her with pity, others with confusion, a few with outright hostility. Aunt Monica pulled her aside in the kitchen. "Jordan, honey, that email you sent was the truth." "I know, baby. I believe you. But you've caused quite a stir." Jordan arranged pastries on a platter, hands steady.
Good.
It was time. Uncle Gerald cornered her by the coffee station. "Your mother is devastated. She's talking about getting a lawyer." Jordan looked him in the eye. "Tell her I already have one."
She did.
Marcus had insisted. A family law attorney who specialized in financial abuse and fraud. At 1 p.m., everyone gathered on the terrace. White tablecloths rippled in the spring breeze. 75 people, 3 generations, all dressed in pastels and pearls. Diane stood at the head of the table, radiant in a lavender dress, playing the role she'd perfected over decades, the devoted, sacrificial mother. She lifted her champagne glass. "Being a mother," she began, voice trembling with practiced emotion, "is the hardest job in the world." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the crowd. "I've been blessed with 2 very different daughters." Jordan's jaw tightened. "One who makes me proud every single day." Diane's eyes drifted to Simone, who smiled graciously. "And one who has tested me in ways I never imagined." The table went quiet. Diane's voice hardened. "A daughter who has now accused me publicly of terrible things, who has tried to destroy my reputation with lies and doctored documents." Jordan's stomach dropped. Doctor documents? So today, Diane continued, pulling out her phone with theatrical flair, I want to set the record straight. 75 phones buzzed simultaneously. People checked their screens.
Frowned. Gasped.
Diane had sent her invoice again, but this time with a new message. This is what it really costs to raise an ungrateful child. Jordan owes this family far more than money. She owes us an apology. Someone laughed nervously. Diane walked to the mantel and hung a framed copy of the invoice beside the family portrait. A reminder, she announced, that love has a price, and some people never learn to pay it. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Jordan stood near the back, invisible as always, waiting for the humiliation to peak. But then Grandma Lorraine stood. The entire terrace fell silent. 83 years old, barely 5 feet tall, Lorraine Concord commanded a room like a queen. Diane, she said, voice like steel wrapped in silk. Sit down. Diane blinked. Mama, I said sit down. Diane sat. Grandma Lorraine turned to the crowd. Jordan has something to say. And every single one of you is going to listen. Jordan's heart pounded. She hadn't prepared for this. But Grandma Lorraine's eyes found hers across the terrace, and in them Jordan saw something she'd been starving for her entire life. Belief. Jordan stepped forward. I didn't want to do this today, Jordan began, her voice shaking but clear. I wanted to stay quiet. I've stayed quiet for 28 years. Diane started to stand. Grandma Lorraine's hand shot out, pressing her back down. Jordan continued. But my mother just accused me of lying. So, I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. She pulled out her phone. When I was 17, my grandmother set up a trust fund for my college education. $92,000. Grandma Lorraine nodded, eyes glistening. My mother told me that money disappeared, that it was never real. So, I took out almost $100,000 in student loans. Jordan's voice cracked. She studied it. 2 years ago, I requested the bank records. My mother withdrew every single penny 6 weeks before I started college. She bought herself a Mercedes and deposited the rest into her personal account. Gasps rippled through the crowd. While I worked 25 hours a week and took 18 credit hours, she was driving a car bought with my future. Aunt Monica's hand flew to her mouth. For 6 years, she claimed me as a dependent on her taxes while I lived independently and paid my own rent. That's tax fraud. Uncle Gerald's face went pale. And when I was 19, 20, and 22, she opened 3 credit cards in my name. Charged $38,000. Destroyed my credit. Every single purchase was shipped to my sister's address. All eyes turned to Simone. Simone's face crumbled. Jordan, I didn't know. You knew enough, Jordan said quietly. You saw the packages. You kept them. Simone looked away, tears streaming. Jordan turned back to the crowd. I sent you all evidence 2 weeks ago. Bank records. Tax returns. Police reports. None of it was fake. None of it was doctored. She looked directly at her mother. You didn't bill me for raising me. You billed me for existing. Because my entire life, I've been a reminder of something you wanted to forget. Diane's face went white. And I need you all to know, Jordan's voice broke completely now, that I spent 28 years trying to earn her love. I did everything right. Perfect grades. Good career. Independence. Respect. Tears streamed down her face, but she didn't wipe them away. And it was never enough. Because she never wanted a daughter. She wanted someone to punish. The silence was absolute. Then Grandma Lorraine spoke. There's one more thing you need to know. Jordan frowned. Grandma, what? Lorraine stood slowly, pulling a folded letter from her purse. 3 days ago, Diane came to my house. She asked me to take her side publicly, to tell everyone Jordan was lying about the trust fund. The crowd murmured. I recorded our conversation. Lorraine held up her phone. Because I knew this day would come. She pressed play. Diane's voice filled the terrace, tinny but clear. Mama, you have to help me. Jordan's trying to destroy me. Did you take her college money? I needed that money. Do you know how expensive it was raising 2 girls alone? Richard barely helped. I deserved. Did you?
Take it.
Silence.
Yes.
But she didn't need it. She got scholarships anyway. It all worked out. The recording ended. Diane stood abruptly, chair crashing backward. You recorded me? Your own daughter? You stole from my granddaughter, Lorraine replied. Your own child. Diane's eyes darted around the terrace, searching for allies. She found none.
Fine, Diane said.
You want the truth? I'll give you the truth. Jordan's stomach twisted. Diane's voice turned vicious. Jordan isn't Richard's biological daughter. She's the result of a mistake I made 29 years ago. A mistake I've had to live with every single day. The terrace erupted. Richard Matthews, who had been standing quietly near the back, went rigid. What did you just say? He whispered. Diane laughed bitterly. You heard me. She's not yours. She never was. Jordan felt the world tilt. Richard stared at her, then at Diane, then back at her. Is this true? He asked Jordan. I didn't know, Jordan stammered. Diane turned to her, eyes cold. Now you know why I could never love you the way I loved Simone. Every time I looked at you, I saw my shame. The cruelty in those words hit Jordan like a physical blow. She staggered backward. And then Richard did something Jordan would remember for the rest of her life. He walked across the terrace, stood beside Jordan, and put his arm around her shoulders. Then you looked at the wrong thing, he said to Diane, voice shaking with rage. Because when I look at her, I see the daughter I raised. The daughter I'm proud of. The daughter who became incredible despite you. He turned to Jordan, eyes wet. Biology doesn't make you my daughter. Love does. And I have loved you every single day of your life. Jordan broke. She collapsed into her father's arms and sobbed. And Richard Matthews, the man who had just learned he wasn't her biological father, held her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because to him, she was. 2 months later, Jordan stood in her new apartment in Wicker Park, boxes half unpacked, sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. Marcus was in the kitchen, assembling a bookshelf and cursing softly at the instructions. Her phone rang. Richard. Hey, Dad, she answered, the words still feeling new and precious in her mouth. Hey, sweetheart. Just checking on you. How's the new place? It's good. Really good. I'm proud of you. Jordan smiled, tears pricking her eyes. I know. You tell me every day. Well, I have 28 years to make up for. Richard had filed for divorce the day after Mother's Day. The proceedings were almost finalized. He'd moved into an apartment in Hyde Park, 15 minutes from Jordan's place. They had dinner together every Sunday. Sometimes it was just the two of them. Sometimes Marcus joined. Once in a while, Grandma Lorraine came with her famous peach cobbler and stories about Richard as a little boy. Those dinners were quiet, uncomplicated, full of a warmth Jordan had spent her entire life craving. One afternoon, Jordan received a letter. Hand-delivered, no return address. Inside was a single page, written in Simone's handwriting. Jordan, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I deserve a response. But I need you to know I'm sorry. I saw the packages. I knew something was wrong. And I kept them anyway because I was scared. Scared that if I questioned Mom, she'd turn on me the way she turned on you. I've spent my entire life being the favorite, and I never realized what it cost you. I never realized that every time Mom praised me, she was tearing you down. Every time she gave me something, she was taking from you. I should have protected you. You're my little sister. And I failed you. The credit cards, the trust fund, the taxes, I swear I didn't know the full extent. But I knew enough. And I stayed silent. I'm in therapy now, trying to understand how I became someone who could stand by and watch her sister be destroyed. I don't know if we'll ever have a relationship again. But I want you to know I see you now. Really see you. And I'm so sorry. Simone. Jordan read the letter 3 times.
She cried.
Not from anger, but from grief for the sister she never really had. A week later, she texted Simone. I'm not ready to see you, but thank you for being honest. Simone responded immediately. Take all the time you need. I'll be here. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was acknowledgement. And sometimes that's where healing starts. 3 weeks after moving, another letter arrived. This one had a return address, Columbus, Ohio. Jordan's hands shook as she opened it. Dear Jordan, my name is Daniel Cross. I am writing to you because I recently learned that I may be your biological father. 29 years ago, I had a brief relationship with Diane Ellery, then Diane Morrison. We were both young. When the relationship ended, I never heard from her again. Last month, a mutual acquaintance informed me of the recent events in your family and the revelation at your grandmother's Mother's Day gathering. I want to be clear. I am not reaching out to disrupt your life or make demands. I simply wanted you to know that I exist, and that if you ever want to know more about your biological background or medical history, I am here. I have no expectations. I only offer truth if you want it. Respectfully, Daniel Cross. Jordan sat with that letter for 3 days. Finally, she talked to Richard. What should I do? She asked over Sunday dinner. Richard took a long breath. What do you want to do? I don't know. I don't want to hurt you. Richard reached across the table, taking her hand. Baby girl, learning about your biology doesn't change our relationship. I'm your father. That's not negotiable. But if knowing where you came from gives you peace, then you should pursue it. Jordan's eyes filled. I don't want to replace you. You couldn't if you tried, Richard said gently. I've got 28 years of bedtime stories, scraped knees, and algebra homework as evidence. Jordan laughed through tears. She wrote back to Daniel 2 weeks later. Mr. Cross, thank you for your letter. I appreciate your honesty and your respect for my boundaries. I'm not ready for a relationship yet. The past few months have been overwhelming, and I'm still processing everything. But I would like to know my medical history. And maybe someday, I'd like to hear your story. For now, I just wanted to say thank you for not making this about you. That means more than you know. Respectfully, Jordan Matthews. His response came a week later with a complete medical history, 3 pages long, and a short note. Whenever you're ready, I'm here. No pressure.
No expectations.
Just truth. Jordan filed the letter away carefully. She wasn't ready. But knowing the option existed felt like opening a window in a room that had been sealed for 28 years. One Saturday in October, Jordan and Marcus were installing floating shelves in their living room. Marcus had been quiet all morning. Fidgety. You okay? Jordan asked, holding a level against the wall.
Yeah.
Can you come here for a second? Jordan set down the level and turned. Marcus was kneeling, holding a small velvet box. Her breath caught. Jordan Matthews, he began, voice shaking. I have loved you since the day you cried in that bathroom after your graduation. The day you thought you weren't worth celebrating. Tears were already streaming down Jordan's face. I have watched you survive things that would have broken most people. I've watched you work 3 jobs, carry debt that wasn't yours, and still show up with kindness for everyone around you. He opened the box. A simple, elegant diamond ring caught the sunlight. This year, I watched you do the hardest thing I've ever seen anyone do. You stood up. You told the truth. You fought for yourself. His voice cracked. And I don't want to spend another day of my life without you. Not as my girlfriend, as my wife, as my partner, as the woman I choose every single day for the rest of my life. Jordan was sobbing now, hands covering her mouth. Jordan, will you marry me? She dropped to her knees, threw her arms around him, and whispered, Yes.
Yes.
1,000 times yes. Marcus slipped the ring on her finger, and they stayed there on the floor, holding each other and crying happy tears in the half-finished living room of their new apartment. Later that afternoon, Jordan called Richard. Dad, I have news. Tell me everything. Marcus proposed. Richard's whoop of joy was so loud Jordan had to pull the phone away from her ear. That man has excellent taste, Richard declared. When's the wedding? We haven't planned anything yet. Well, you better believe I'm walking you down the aisle. Jordan's throat tightened. Really? Jordan Michelle Matthews, I have been waiting 28 years for this moment. You think I'm going to miss it?" She laughed through fresh tears. "I love you, Dad. I love you too, baby girl. So much." The morning of her wedding, Jordan stood in Grandma Lorraine's guest room, wearing a simple, elegant white dress. Grandma Lorraine sat in a chair nearby, watching her with quiet pride. "You look beautiful, baby," she said softly. Jordan turned, studying her reflection. "I never thought I'd have this."
What?
"A wedding. Happiness. The real kind." Lorraine stood, walked over, and placed her hands on Jordan's shoulders. "You know what the difference is between you and your mother?" Jordan met her eyes in the mirror. She spent her whole life punishing people for her mistakes. You spent yours learning how to heal from them. Jordan's eyes filled.
It still hurts sometimes.
What she did. Of course it does. Healing isn't forgetting, baby. It's learning how to carry the weight differently. There was a knock at the door. Richard stepped in, wearing a navy suit, eyes already red. "Oh, sweetheart," he whispered, voice breaking. "You're so beautiful." Jordan hugged him tightly. "Thank you for being here. There is nowhere else I would be." Downstairs, 75 guests had gathered.
Friends. Colleagues.
Distant relatives who had reached out after Mother's Day to apologize for years of silence. Simone had sent a card. She didn't come, respecting Jordan's boundaries. But the card read, "I am so happy for you. You deserve every bit of joy coming your way. Love, Simone." Jordan had cried when she read it. Then she'd placed it in a box with other things she wasn't ready to forgive, but wasn't ready to destroy either. Diane had not been invited. She'd sent a letter 3 weeks before the wedding. "Jordan, I know I failed you. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know I'm getting help. Real help. And I hope one day you might give me a chance to do better." Jordan read it, filed it away, and decided that someday maybe she'd respond. But not today. Today was hers. The ceremony was held in a garden overlooking Lake Michigan. White chairs lined a grass aisle. String lights hung from trees. The late afternoon sun cast everything in gold. As the music started, Jordan took Richard's arm. "You ready?" he asked. "I've been ready my whole life." They walked down the aisle together. Past colleagues from work. Past Marcus's family, who had embraced her like their own. Past Grandma Lorraine, who was crying openly and proudly. And at the end of the aisle stood Marcus Reed, the man who had seen her at her lowest and loved her anyway. The man who showed up. When they reached the altar, the officiant asked, "Who gives this woman to be married?" Richard's voice rang out clear and strong. "Her family does. Her real family." He kissed Jordan's cheek, whispered, "I'm so proud of you," and took a seat. Marcus took Jordan's hands, tears streaming down his face. "You showed up," Jordan whispered. "Always," he whispered back. The vows were simple. Promises to choose each other. To show up. To build something real. When the officiant pronounced them married, the crowd erupted in applause. And Jordan Matthews, now Jordan Reed, kissed her husband surrounded by people who actually loved her. A year after the wedding, Jordan sat in her therapist's office for her final session. "How are you feeling?" Dr. Okonkwo asked.
Jordan thought about it.
"Free," she said finally. "For the first time in my life, I feel free." Free from what? From needing her approval. From carrying her shame. From believing I was the problem. Dr. Okonkwo smiled. "That's significant growth." Jordan nodded. "I still have hard days. Sometimes I see mothers and daughters laughing together, and I feel that ache. But it's different now." "How so?" "It's grief, not shame. I'm grieving what I didn't get. But I'm not ashamed of who I am anymore." She paused, then added, "And I'm building what I didn't have. With Marcus. With Dad. With the family I'm choosing." Dr. Okonkwo leaned back. "What would you say to the Jordan who sat in this office 3 years ago?" Jordan thought back to that first session. She'd been broken. Convinced she was unlovable. Drowning in debt that wasn't hers and shame that shouldn't have been hers either. I'd tell her that the people who couldn't love her right were never the problem. She was never too much or not enough. She was just in the wrong rooms. Her voice steadied. I'd tell her that one day, she'd stand up. She'd fight back. She'd tell the truth. And it would hurt like hell, but it would also set her free. Jordan's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. And I'd tell her that the life she's dreaming of, the one where she's loved without conditions, celebrated without competition, and valued just for existing, that life is coming. She just has to hold on. That evening, Jordan and Marcus hosted Sunday dinner. Richard arrived with wine. Grandma Lorraine brought peach cobbler. Marcus's parents came with flowers. Around the table, they laughed, told stories, made plans for the future. At one point, Richard raised his glass.
To Jordan, he said.
The bravest person I know. Jordan's eyes filled, but she didn't look away. To chosen family, she replied. The only kind that matters. They clinked glasses. And as Jordan looked around the table at people who showed up, who stayed, who loved her without scorecards or conditions, she realized something profound. She had spent 28 years trying to earn love from someone who couldn't give it. And now she was surrounded by people who gave it freely. Her mother had sent her a bill for $347,000. But the price of freedom? The cost of choosing herself? The value of building a life where she was celebrated, not tolerated? That was priceless. Sometimes the people who are supposed to love you unconditionally are the ones who make love feel like a transaction. They'll keep score, bill you for existing, punish you for being proof of their own mistakes. But Jordan Matthews learned something her mother never could. Your worth isn't determined by who values you. It's determined by who you refuse to let devalue you. She paid her mother's bill, not with money, with truth. And the freedom that came after? The peace? The family she built from scratch? That was worth more than $347,000. That was worth everything. If you're watching this and you've ever been the scapegoat, the disappointment, the one who is never enough, know this. You are not the problem. You never were. And the day you stop trying to earn love from people who can't give it, that's the day you're